indie games aren't just stealing players from AAA games, they're stealing players exponentially, to the point now that investors are talking about it, and it's heralding the collapse of the default authority that much of this industry has enjoyed for far too long.
Yes.
See, now I know some people are going to say, well, people have always talked about indie games, there's always been popular indie games. True, but they've never been the primary point of discussion. That is something that is almost all.
That is true, yes, yes. And in the past years, indie games have become... Basically, indie games have become the default when it comes to quality of games. Quality. Because AAA games, quality-wise, these days they're just trash. They're just not good. I mean, do you guys remember Starfield? Utter trash. Utter trash. Not even modders wanted to touch that game to make it better. That's how bad that game is. And that's why I think Bethesda is not able to ever make a good game ever again. I think the company is completely done when it comes to making games. Remember, the last game they published was Doom. But most likely Doom, the second Doom. The third Doom did not do that great, but the second one of the new Doom games. And that thing was not made by Bethesda. They just published it. And that and the Doom before that were the only good games that came out of Bethesda in over a decade. And way over a decade, almost 2 decades.
Always been fully dedicated to the biggest games in the industry, but in recent years, that has shifted almost entirely. And now we have analysts that are saying that this isn't some trend. No, indie games are the future of the games industry.
I hope so.
There are a lot of moving parts to this story. I'm going to try to cover all of it. It's ranging anywhere from creativity to choice to price on some of these games. But what we are seeing right now is a complete takeover that is being executed by the most passionate, by the most creative, by the most in touch with their audience, and the most affordable.
Yes.
What's the saying? Time is like a flat circle. Well, today, we're going back to the beginning. But before that, a shout out to Starforge Systems, who did sponsor today's video. If you guys are looking for a new PC, check out the link down below. Best PCs on the market. I can say that because mine still works. Back to the video. I find the timing of this to be almost poetic. 2026 starts off with Riot Games laying off staff because 2XKO just didn't have enough momentum to...
Wait. Riot lays off 2XKO develop... Oh, wait. I remember they released a fighting game with League of Legends characters, right? And that game completely flopped. I remember now. I have seen one video about this game and it wasn't talking nicely about it. I completely forgot that that game existed. Completely.
To justify the team size behind it, while Hytale, the game that they abandoned because they just couldn't get it out the door, comes back from the dead, gets bought back by its original creators, and then blows past 2 million in sales only weeks after its reacquisition. Then we have...
I'm thinking about actually getting this game because it looks so interesting, and it's on Steam and not Microsoft Store. I will never touch the Microsoft Store. Fuck that thing. Fuck Microsoft.
By its original creators, and then blows past 2 million in sales only weeks after its reacquisition. Then we have Highguard, the investor-backed independent AAA live service game that's player count dies in a matter of hours, and here we are yet again.
Yes, they are now below 2,000 players. The last time I checked, it was 1,232, I think. It's really bad. This game is completely dead, and that's why they laid off basically everyone. Man, the developers of this game are such arrogant pieces of shit. They shouldn't work in the games industry ever again. Maybe with exception of the technical guys, but the designers of this game, yeah, fuck them.
talking about layoffs. Meanwhile, Meowgenic shows up, sells 500,000 copies in under 48 hours, cracks 80,000 concurrent players on Steam within days. And while, yes, this is coming from the developer who made Binding of Isaac, the marketing for this game was basically a YouTube video from its creator on a scuffed webcam 5 months before release. This is the story that we've been watching get louder and louder every single year. Big budget AAA games land with teams of hundreds or thousands, marketing so thick you can't escape it, and then nothing. No traction, no pull. They hit the market like a brick and sink. Meanwhile, indie games made by 1 or 2 people show up.
And look at this. The animation. The guy, one developer, this guy did all the animation himself, I would guess. And it looks good. This looks good. It has a distinct style. I mean, you don't need to like the style. I can understand why you wouldn't. But this is very obviously... And this is well made.
With zero marketing and just shred the charts apart, snatching the players by the millions. For a long time, it was easy to treat this like it's some fun underdog story. People love to see the little guy win, but there's always been this quiet dismissal that I've seen underneath it. Like, these wins don't matter. Like, the industry is just too big to have any consequences. Like, the silent majority is out there, and they're still just propping up the AAA games industry. And if you think...
Oh, yeah, that is over. I think that is completely over. But not completely, but mostly. I think even normies go and see, yeah, this is trash. Why would I spend $70 on this one game that's mediocre if I can buy 10 indie games with much better quality?
That you're wrong, because indie isn't just outperforming AAA every once in a while. No, these players are getting pulled away repeatedly, and they're not coming back.
Oh no, he's fucking all the sluts. Okay, yeah, this game has humor. I like this already. It's very obviously a game for adults, not for children.
And now we have proof. Not long ago, Bain & Company, a group of analysts and managers working under the Bain investment umbrella, mostly focused on tech and things like that, published a report titled Squeezed in the Middle, AAA Game Studios Must Adapt, where they wrote AAA video game studios are caught in a pincer.
They can't adapt. They are way too big. And on top of that, there's a lot of arrogance there. That's why they can't adapt. We have seen that with the developers of Concord, and High God. They think of themselves so highly that they just don't listen. They just don't listen. They are stupid people that think they are smart. It's that simple.
Movement. On one side, nimble indies are delivering hit games on shoestring budgets, and on the other, huge games as a service platforms such as Roblox and Fortnite are pulling players, creators, and brands into their gravitational orbit. In between, AAA studios are getting squeezed. Executives from these incumbent studios can no longer ignore the hard truth. They will have to reinvent how they operate if they want to stay relevant and secure their future. Indie developers are thriving despite lacking large workforces and financial resources that would come with being owned by a major publisher. As an illustration, their PC revenues grew at 22% compound annual rate from 2018 through 2024 versus 8% for AA mid-market studios and AAA large studios with big teams and budgets focused on making ambitious titles. Even indie's share of total games available on Steam has remained relatively constant, according to our analysis of estimated upfront game sales from Video Games Inside. Okay, so now to translate that into normal human language, indie isn't just growing faster than AAA, it's growing at nearly 3 times the rate over the same stretch. And because growth...
Oh my god. That's massive. That's actually massive. Oh my god. Oh, I'm impressed. I'm actually impressed.
With compounds, that gap isn't just sitting there, it's snowballing. It's becoming the new default for the industry. And the market share here is a savage telling, because Bain can sit here and say AAA grew 8%. Sure, but AAA also started with the throne. If AAA's market share, which in this case means player base or individual sales, drops from 76% to 61%, that's bad. That's really bad. That's a 15% loss. That's like these guys losing anywhere from 90 to 100 million individual individual sales. That's essentially the floor giving out from underneath them. And
that sounds bad to me. Actually, really, really bad. This is horrendous. Yeah. Who could have guessed that the people that have massive studios with hundreds and maybe even thousands of people working there, making products that are unappealing to the masses, would not make all the money they wanted. Oh, who could have guessed?
in this case, they're only talking through 2024. 2025 was even worse for these guys. That was a year where most of the biggest budget releases came in under expectations outside of Battlefield 6, and multiple indie games were tearing holes through the games industry.
And I think even Battlefield 6 basically died. Didn't it? It's nowhere here. Battlefield 6. Let's see. Players. Yeah. It's no, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine for being out for almost 6 months. Oh, I guess.
Dragging players away. And you know what makes this entire thing that much more insulting? It includes Black Myth Wukong and Baldur's Gate 3 into AAA sales. And I don't care what box and analyst wants to try to put them in. Those are not AAA games in my eyes, nor do I think a lot of players would view those games as AAA either. They are outliers. And if you strip those outliers away, that means these guys are suffering massive losses. Yeah. And the funny thing is, even drafting 2 games into their corner that honestly do not belong there, these guys are still getting beaten by
Oh no.
Drafting 2 games into their corner that
oh no, she's hot. She reminds me of the Draenei. Oh no, shiz. Why do I have to be such a horny old man?
Honestly do not belong there. These guys are still getting beaten by indie games. That is just insane to me. So what's causing this loss of players? Why are indie games taking over the industry? Well, even the analysts are starting to see things from our perspective, though I do think their data is flawed. Bain writes, what's fueling this disruption is not a cycle, it is a structural shift that's reshaping the economics of the industry. Several trends are behind it. Player
preference are evolving. I don't know they are changing. I mean, player trends, I mean, yes, there have always been trends in what players want to play. But the thing is, people want to play good games that are quality games. If I spend $70 on a game, then I fucking expect it to be polished and not a turd. And that's one of the problems. A lot of these games are technically not good. They aren't. They have bugs everywhere. They run like shit. And the gameplay hasn't changed in decades. Literally. Oh, the gameplay is over. The gameplay loop of Ubisoft games is, of all of their games, it's over a decade old. Maybe even almost 2. And they haven't changed anything. And they also haven't changed the engine they use. Bethesda is a prime example of what not to do. You never change your gameplay loop. You never change your engine. You kind of modernize your engine, but not really. So it stays shit. Literally, the last game, Starfield. The game, quality-wise, looks just like Oblivion. Yes, the textures are more detailed, but modders can do that with Oblivion. It's not a question of, oh my god, this game is so much better because it has more detailed textures. The overall quality of the game is just garbage. And if it's garbage, then people don't want to play it. Especially not for $70. Man. So why wouldn't I've let's go on here. Let's ignore this. Where is it? This game. Nova Drift. Let's go to the shop site. It's not expensive. It has a demo. It costs $17. Taxes included. I have the game. I enjoyed playing the game. It's a very neat, small game. And I have played, how much have I played? Only 10 hours. And I really enjoyed these 10 hours. I started playing the game. I immediately figured out how I want to play this game. And I stuck to it. And this game is really, really neat. It's a neat little game that has enough content for you to enjoy yourself, and then when you get bored, you move on. Do I regret having paid $17? I don't even know if I have paid that much for this game. No, because it was fun. Remembering back to playing this game, I don't remember frustration at all. No frustration playing this game. Even if I died because I didn't like how my current ship worked. Sure. But it was not a problem with the game. It was a problem with me because I didn't like how that specific spaceship worked. It's completely fine. The problem is when you have this big, huge ass AAA games that play in a way that they don't actually really work. They are just frustrating. Or even worse things like, oh, remember Cyberpunk? When that shit came out, it was completely broken. Completely broken. $70 and completely broken. Okay, 60 on PC. $60 and completely broken. An unplayable mess. They fixed it, but it took them, I think, half a year to get rid of most of the bugs. Maybe even 1 year. But still, it came out and it was completely broken. And then you have games like this that shouldn't even be their own game, just a massive expansion for the first one. And by the way, they're working on a third one, which makes no sense to me. Absolutely none. And I think that's the problem, mostly.
Preferences are evolving. While gamers continue to value high-fidelity graphics, gameplay is the most important reason players choose and stay engaged with games. In Bain's 2025 survey, 22% of gamers cited gameplay as the #1 reason they play their favorite games, while high-quality graphics or audio was cited by only 7% of gamers as the most important factor. That dynamic has helped level the playing field, as game studios of any size can achieve commercial success if they get the gameplay right. See Undertale, Stardew Valley, and Vampire Survivors, for example.
Absolutely.
Indie quality is up. Top indie games rival or surpass AAA titles in critical acclaim. Last year, 75% of the top 20 highest rated games on Metacritic were developed by indie studios. Nearly.
Who could have guessed? Who could have guessed? I mean, if you look at last year's game releases, what big games came out that were good? I don't remember anything at all. The only games that I remember are indie games, or at least small developer games like Clair Obscure. I remember that one. And what else came out? Spontaneously, Megabonk, very successful. And for the rest, I don't remember. Oh, of course, are creators. Not AAA, but close to it, and very, very successful.
Double their share in 2016. As of this writing, Claire Obscure Expedition 33, Blueprints, and Split Fiction top Metacritic's 2025 ratings, outshining even the most ambitious AAA releases.
That's not surprising.
They go on to talk about disruptive tech, barriers collapsing, budgets not making sense, marketing not working, and yeah, all that stuff matters. Indie quality is obviously up. I think anybody can see that, but they're still missing the point here because they're treating those high ratings like it's a fact to report instead of a question that needs to be answered. Why were they rated that highly? What did they do that AAA isn't doing? And also, I'm sorry.
Being good games, they answer the question. It's literally that simple. They are good games. That's why they are rated so high.
I want to know who they are surveying because there is no shot that only 22% of gamers said that gameplay is the reason that they stick to a game. Like, okay, sure, you're going to have a couple people that are here for the story, the art, music, vibes. I'm here for my waifu, whatever.
Yes, exactly. That's the waifu thing was what I wanted to say, but I didn't yet. I wanted to wait.
But is it fun is the actual foundation of these games. It is the entire tree. Everything else just hangs off of that. Without it, the game dies. And AAA has basically been speedrunning proof of that over the past couple of years. For all the insights in this report, the biggest miss they have is how self-inflicted this collapse is, especially around gameplay. These games just aren't fun. And they're
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, just remember the last Assassin's Creed. Did that game look like it's fun? No. No, it didn't. It didn't even look like it's fun. And that's on top of being quite ugly. And, you know, generally not very appealing.
Priorities are completely out of order. Bane is right that if players care more about gameplay, indies are going to have an easier time competing because that's all they have. But that's also the part that AAA gave up. In indie games, gameplay is the starting line. In AAA, it feels increasingly more optional.
Yes, of course it is.
AAA games stopped obsessing over the gameplay and started obsessing over the way they look, over how they're positioned, over the agenda that they're trying to pretend to represent.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely, 100%. See Concord.
How they could attract more investors, what trend they're trying to ride. And when you build a game like that, you don't end up building something that people love. You just end up building something that people tolerate until they don't.
Yes.
Back last year during the 30th anniversary of Space Invaders, the game's creator, Tomohiro Nishikado, said that he thinks games are being made the wrong way, and he pointed out this very issue.
And he's completely right. If you don't make a game for people to enjoy it, to have fun with it, then you're missing the entire point of making a game.
He said the game development process in Taito eventually changed, and we, the game creators, were increasingly expected to listen to the sales team, which came up with new title concepts they thought would sell. Then we started game development based on that. Personally, I don't think it's the correct approach. Creators should make a game on their own first.
It's like Steve Jobs said, the moment the sales people take over the company, the company is dead. But the products suffer and then the company dies. That's exactly what's happening with AAA games.
And then they should expand the project larger. That's what I felt throughout my whole career. AAA games feel a lot like skinwalkers. They just kind of sketch you out. You can tell they're not necessarily the same as everybody else. Underneath, it's just an amalgamation of a bunch of different incentives, a bunch of different people pulling strings in all kinds of different directions for their own wants and needs. None of it having anything to do with you as a player.
Yeah.
It's all about whether they think it will sell. Does it look like the game that it needs to look like? Is it going to offend anybody? Is it sending the right message? Can we monetize it? Can we put a battle path in it? That's what I think happened to Diablo 4. It's one of the reasons that game probably took so long to come out is because these guys had a hard time figuring out how they were going to monetize it as a live service. And you see that pretty much across the board with the
Yes, and that's why the game is so mediocre. And has still no Diablo in it. It's so stupid.
A lot of these games. And I think that this can only go on for so long before the games themselves start to lose meaning. And then the studios start to lose players. Somewhere along the way, when games got mainstream, they started becoming more profitable, the video game part of the equation just disappeared.
Yes, exactly.
And once these guys started...
Which is also, remember, some game studios, oh yeah, this is... They literally want to make movies instead of games, and their games play exactly that way. You can tell. You know, these 30 no, not even 30. I think their games run at 25 FPS because that's movie like. Yeah, they're sniffing their own farts. It's embarrassing. I think it's embarrassing.
Exploiting these games for profit. Let's be honest, it's exactly what these companies are doing. As much as these guys want to come out and be like, guys, I'm trying to make the most creative thing ever, you have to understand, stop bullying me online.
Yeah.
There are executives that are above you that are trying to milk this industry as hard as they possibly can, and they don't care if it collapses because they'll just go get a job in another industry. That's what CEOs do. Watch the path of some of these guys. They are destructive forces. But it's no surprise now that we're starting to see the pendulum swing in the opposite direction. Back to video games just being video games.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly when it happened for me, but when I look at the numbers that they were showing, this is almost the exact same timeline or experience that I felt where I started playing less and less AAA games and more indie games. And while
oh yeah, I've long stopped playing AAA games because they're all shit. Why would I play shit if I can play something nice? It's the same like, why would I eat shit if I can't eat something nice? Of course I choose the nice thing.
there are still AAA games that I get excited for, it's a fleeting matter. Once the honeymoon phase ends, I almost immediately start seeing the ugly head of the AAA hallmarks that I've gotten all too used to, and I just walk away and go back to an indie game.
Yes.
Now, all of this explains why people aren't playing AAA games anymore. And these analysts are starting to figure it out, which means investors are also going to figure it out. That part I don't necessarily like, but they have all the data, they have the analytics. But the one thing that these guys don't seem to understand is why people play indie games.
Oh.
It should probably come as no surprise, but I've somehow
fun.
already sunk over 30 hours into Mugenics, and I don't exactly know when that happened. I just kind of blinked and a couple days disappeared. I haven't really been sleeping all that well recently, but I will say one of the things that I realized is how few of these indie devs give a fuck. This is a game about eugenics. It's about trying to breed the perfect cat-killing machine using D&D party...
Wait. The perfect cat-killing machine? Okay. Now that's interesting.
Class structure inside of a tactical turn-based roguelike where you can end up breeding cats that have autism and ADHD. The voice cast includes literal real-life ideological enemies like Ethan Klein and iDubbbz. The devs actually put Chris Chan in this game. And of course, the second the game dropped, it got the usual problematic treatment. PC Gamer ran the whole entire controversy pre-game. Rock, Paper, Shotgun grilled Edmund McMillan over the casting, and his answer is perfect. He just said if he had only picked who he agreed with, he'd be the only one meowing in the game. And I can't lie, that is absurdly refreshing. I think that that's a huge reason why a lot of these indie games are taking over. It's not better tools, it's not marketing trends, it's not whatever analyst language.
See this game? This game looks fun. Immediately, I don't know how much we have seen, 5 seconds, almost 10, just, and this game looks fun. It looks fun. This looks like something I at least would look at, you know? Unlike Starfield or the last Assassin's Creed. Oh, my God. Ugh.
That they want to use is that these games are being made from the roots again. Somebody with vision, someone making something that they think is cool without spending half of their dev cycle terrified of online drama, politics, trends, optics, or whether or not some consultant is going to try to flag a line of their dialogue. It's 2 questions. Is this cool and is this fun? And that mindset keeps winning. I think that Nishikado quote from earlier nails this perfectly. Developers should make their own games first. Indie games still have that quality behind them where you can feel a person behind it. Somebody's taste, somebody's weirdness, somebody's obsession, not a product that's built to satisfy 10 different incentives at once. Games like Eugenics feel selfishly made, and that's not a flaw. That's where some of the best games come from. The Legend of Zelda exists because Miyamoto wanted to bottle his own childhood, exploring caves in the countryside of Japan, and turn that feeling into a video game. Concerned Ape made Stardew Valley because he felt that Harvest...
These games look nice. Even if that is everything I can say about it, they look nice. And they're immediately better than the majority of AAA games. How is this even possible? AAA devs really don't give a fuck about their own games. That's why.
Boone kept getting worse. Notch made Minecraft as a personal project because he just loved the loop of building stuff with blocks. Miyazaki, his whole approach to FromSoft storytelling, the gaps, the fragments, that comes from him being a kid who couldn't read Western novels, Western fantasy novels that he was obsessed with, so he just started filling in the blanks with his own imagination.
Cool.
Yoko Taro, Nier Automata. That's basically him just giving his own personal retelling of Evangelion through his own weird lens. You keep going down the list.
Really? That's weird. Especially seeing that I really like Evangelion and I hate Nier Automata. It's, oh my god, this is comedy gold.
And you're going to realize something very fast. Most of the games that people actually love didn't start off as a market demand. They started off as somebody wanting to make something that they thought was cool, something that they thought was fun. You know, for a really long time, I assumed that a lot of these big indie hits were just about listening to the players. Like, these guys are DJs out there taking requests, just perfectly responding to market feedback. But the more that I watch it, the more I come to realize that these guys are the ones that are making the call and then answering it themselves. They're not some alien species. They are you. They are me. They're sitting around asking, what happened to that game? Where did that game go? Why doesn't anybody make a game like this? And instead of waiting, these guys are just doing it themselves.
Yeah.
And when I start to look at it through that lens, why these games are being made, the way these games are being designed, the success makes a lot more sense. These games make a lot more sense. They're making games for themselves as a video game player. When I play an indie game, I boot it up and I just play it. Even if it's on the first playthrough, there's barely any downtime. No 10-minute movie intro, no long-winded exposition, no tutorial that's keeping me from playing the actual game. Meanwhile, with AAA games, they become increasingly more abrasive and convoluted. I remember when I was reviewing Call of Duty.
Why does this look worse than the games we have seen before? You know, when I said, oh, these look nice, this doesn't. This looks meh. We have seen these graphics 100 million times and they're boring. They're just boring. Maybe I'm too negative, but Jesus, this looks so boring.
Black Ops 7, and it took me almost 15 minutes just to get to actual gameplay. Shaders installing, updating, restarting, relaunching, agreeing to sharing my data and their community guidelines and whatever else, then more cutscenes and menu juggling. And the whole time I'm just sitting there thinking, all I want to do is play a game. I just want to play the game. The longer you keep me from doing that, the more likely I am to leave. A lot of indie games remind me of older games for that reason. Over the holidays, I got gifted one of those digital Super Nintendos. I sat down, I turned it on, and I immediately realized none of that friction ever existed back then.
Yeah.
The focus was entirely on you.
But yeah, also, it's let's say it this way: these games were made for children, at least mostly, and you know, getting them just into the action. I mean, why wouldn't they do that? Also, bring them into action. I mean, there was no live service back then. You bought the game and that's it. So there is no reason for the developers to not have you go right into the action. It wouldn't make any sense.
getting into the game fast and having enough game there to keep you. Hell, most of the games didn't even have tutorials. All they did was just drop you into the game and had you figure it out. And figuring it out was actually part of the fun.
Exactly.
You were discovering the controls. You were discovering the game itself, bare bones with context or no context at all, and you were just off to the races. So now here I am playing Eugenics, and I'm realizing it's the exact same attraction. You breed cats, cool, but the game is not sitting you down and spoon feeding you all of the optimal breeding paths. It's not even telling you how to guarantee traits, what stats belong on what role, what the best build is, or any of that. You get basic controls, and that's about it. You don't even know how terrain works, how you can use elements, how chain abilities work, or how you can use items properly. The game just gives you a puzzle, throws it in your lap, and says, figure it out. A lot of modern games.
That's, I want to say it's kind of like Arc Raiders, but it's kind of, Arc Raiders does have a tutorial, but the tutorial is literally, you start playing the game. When you start playing Arc Raiders for the first time, you literally get thrown into the tutorial without being able to get into the options menu, which you can hate, can like. Personally, I don't like that. I rather go right into the menu, change things to where I like them to be, and then start the game. That's what I prefer. But their tutorial was actually good. I sadly, at the end, didn't listen to it. That's why I, in my first raid, didn't know how to extract. Stupid. But yeah. It's good. It's a good tutorial.
Have moved away from that. Everything gets explained in full detail. Nothing gets left unsaid. It's all in the name of accessibility. So they just want to make sure that everyone understands the game because they need everyone to understand the game. So they spell everything out. They flatten the learning curve. They sand down the edges. And once that mindset takes over, it just starts bleeding into the rest of the design. The game is so complex. Well, now they're going to over-explain. Then they notice that they're over-explaining. So now they simplify. They remove features. They remove texture.
Yes.
They make it easier to swallow. In that process, the game starts to lose its feeling of discovery. It starts.
This character looks cool. It looks really interesting. I have no idea what that is supposed to be, but it looks cool. Just, random side note.
Starts to lose its feeling of a video game. It starts to lose the sense of exploration and achievement that you only get from earning your understanding, which is the whole reason that we play a lot of these games. Beyond that, the final point that I'm going to make, if you guys really want to know why indie is winning, and yes, I know that I harp on this point a lot, the biggest deciding factor here is price. And I don't just mean that indie games are cheaper so people buy them. I mean, price changes the shape of success here.
Yeah.
It makes the difference between basically all of these games. It makes these games way easier to try, way easier to recommend, way easier to go viral, and it's how you end up with indie outpacing AAA at nearly 3 times the growth. Like, do the math. If you bought every indie hit in 2025, you'd be looking at around $300. If you bought every AAA release, you'd be north of $1,600. That is a huge gap.
Okay, that's massive. Oh my god, yeah. How about no? How about no?
That is the difference between, sure, I'll grab it, and I need to be convinced that I'm not going to waste my money. There is simply more room for players to say yes with indie games than there is with AAA, and it's not even close. Indie games are simply just better pretty much across the board. Indie games are being made by people who still have their incentives that are lining up with the players. They respect your time. They feel fun immediately. They make something that people actually want to play, while AAA is sitting around making games for everybody else except the player.
Yeah.
These games are just better.
That's exactly how I feel. AAA games are made for everyone, which means they are made for no one. That's why they are so mediocre. While indie games are made for a specific type of player, and they will enjoy it. And they aren't scared of, not selling enough copies, because they make a niche product. And when a niche product hits, then it hits. It's that simple. It's very, very simple. It's like, you create a tool to just... An indie game with a niche audience is just a hammer. What do you do with the hammer? You sell it to someone that needs to hammer nails into whatever. You don't sell it to someone that needs to clean windows, because you can't. You don't sell your hammer to someone that needs to paint a wall. It's that same concept.
In every single way, whether it's affordability, whether it's creativity, whether it's even the way they look in some cases. I mean, look at some of these games visually. You could take a screenshot and almost know exactly where some of these games are coming from, but with a lot of these modern AAA games, they all look the same. They're spending millions of dollars chasing the exact same aesthetic because none of these guys understand where success is coming from.
Exactly.
It reminds me of this video that I saw where some guy green screened my apartment's background into his video. Flattering, weird, but it's definitely, you're going down the wrong lane. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Wait, what?
I just want people to appreciate how much this industry is flipped. Like, it's completely transformed at this point. Nearly everybody I know outside of people that play Nintendo games are skeptical of every single AAA release, but are over the moon for a $20 indie game that's coming from somebody that's a nobody, that's coming from nowhere. But to be honest with you, that nobody from nowhere is a lot closer to you and I than a C-suite executive that's trying to slap another character with a Killmonger haircut because they believe that it's better for audience demographics.
Of course.
When did you guys start waiting for AAA releases instead of counting them down? You know, back in the day, 10, 15 years ago, people were waiting outside in the blistering cold, in the smoldering heat. They were already sold on these games years before they ever released. Now, everybody waits. I was back there when the ancient texts were first written for the Wrath of the Lich King launch, for Grand Theft Auto 5, for Halo 3, even further back than that. Oh, man. Feel like I'm fading right now. But, you know, part of that is digital downloads. That's the reason why people didn't show up for them anymore. But the other part of nothing stopping people from playing some of these games and waiting up until midnight until they launch, but that doesn't really happen. We stopped waiting. We stopped showing up.
Yeah.
You know, if this year plays out like last year did, we're going to see a lot more than 3 times the growth. These guys are going to surrender more and more of this industry at an ever-increasing rate, and it's ultimately going to end up in more layoffs, more studio closures, and to be honest with you, while there's going to be a lot of people, at least in games media, that are going to be mourning that, I'm going to be celebrating the better games.
Same.
Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did enjoy the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, follow me on social media, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Twitch. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. I'm going to bed. Peace.
Great video. Great video.